Meet Bob Olson. Bob's the author of Answers About the Afterlife and the host of Afterlife TV, a private investigator who began investigating life after death in 1999. Bob now records his interviews with experts, authors, and people who've had extraordinary experiences so he can share it all with you. Enjoy the show.
Hi everybody, Bob Olson here with Afterlife TV. You can find us at afterlifetv.com. This is where we search for evidence of life after death and ask the meaningful questions around that subject. There's something very special about this. The man that you see to the side of me is kind of famous. And so one of the things that happened was I heard he had a near-death experience, and I couldn't find any information about it, and so I thought, oh, what an opportunity to maybe interview him and ask him about his and maybe some of the lessons that he learned from it. First of all, I'm just going to say, most people will know you, will know him by this book, The Four Agreements. Very, very famous and popular book. His name is Don Miguel Ruiz. Dr. Miguel Ruiz, thank you so much for joining us today.
It's a pleasure, a privilege to be with you and with all your audience. It's great.
Oh, well, thank you. I will tell you that when I think of you, I just think of how much love you emanate. That's just the way I think of you. Like, you emanate love, and anytime I've ever seen you, that's the way it's been. I saw you actually. You came to Andover, Massachusetts years ago. I think you were talking about. The book was on The Voice of Knowledge, and it was through a woman named Kathy Levine, and her metaphysical store was called Circles of Wisdom at circlesofwisdom.com. Wonderful lady. She had you to Massachusetts, and my wife and I went, and boy, we just enjoyed it so much. It was so great to hear you speak that day. What I want to start off with is if you could just tell us a little bit about your background. You were a medical doctor, I know, at the time of your near-death experience. Tell us a little bit about your area of focus as far as being a doctor is concerned.
Well, I just follow family tradition. Two of my brothers, they're doctors. One is a neurosurgeon. The other is an oncologist surgeon. Then just by follow their steps, I also became a surgeon, and I was part of their team. Then with my brother, Carlos, which is the neurosurgeon, I did a lot of neurosurgery. Wow. And it was a great time. But at a certain moment, what I discovered is that most of the people, they create their own physical problems. And I was very interested to understand the human mind.
Yeah.
Then I decided to change directions in my career. It's not necessarily live medicine. It's one of the greatest art, medicine. Yeah. I just changed the direction into psychology because I really, really want to understand what is going on in the human mind. Because something that I discovered is that it's so easy to suggest the people. The human mind is like a field that is fertile for ideas, for opinions. Then depending on whatever is fertile is what will grow in the human mind. Then I just follow the tradition of my family, which is the Toltec tradition. Mm-hmm. The word Toltec means artist. Then when I talk about Toltecs, I really talking about the entire humanity, because we all are artists. Even if we don't have the awareness, we always creating. And the biggest art that we humans create is a story, the story of ourselves, the story of our life. And it looks so real. And we live in that story. Then we accumulate all that knowledge by using the word. We give a meaning to every single word that we use. Yeah. And we give our personal power to knowledge. Then knowledge has the need to understand. And knowledge create a masterpiece also, which is the main character of our story, which means it creates us, what we believe we are. And the whole story is based in the main character. But it also creates secondary characters that are based in people that really exist. Because we perceive everyone around us, but what we have in our mind is not the real person, the real people, but the way we perceive them.
Yeah.
And in our story, everybody is just a secondary character. And what is very interesting is that everybody else, they do exactly the same thing that we do. They create their own story, and in their story, they are the main characters, and we are also only a secondary character in everybody else's story. And we are completely different in everybody's story, that they really don't know us and we don't know them. Then knowledge have the need to understand and is so afraid of anything that it doesn't understand. And this is the main reason why we are so afraid to the unknown, especially to death, because we don't understand what's happened after the body dies.
What a boy! I mean, you said a mouthful there, and there's such wisdom in that, and everything you just said, kind of mind blowing there for me. But also the perfect segue to what we're going to talk about today. And I do want to mention too that first of all, I want to congratulate you, and I'm sure all the audience does, on your Oprah interview. You were brilliant on that. It was beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was really, really great. And you had talked about, or she did, vaguely talked about a near-death experience that you had. And I wanted to hear so much more about it. But of course, that's my passion. You know what I mean? I love this kind of stuff. And I'm sure a lot of people in our audience, thought the same thing. And I went online trying to find out more information about it. I couldn't find it anywhere. And so I thought, well, this is a great opportunity to see if he'll be willing to talk to us about it here on Afterlife TV. So, have you had more than one near-death experience in your life?
Oh, definitely yes.
Okay.
It's not the first time that it happened to me.
Okay. All right. And so was the first one the car accident? Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we're talking late 1970s. At least that's what I learned from the Oprah show. Is that
Yes.
correct?
It's correct. I was driving a Volkswagen, and I make the same mistake that many people do. I drink too much. I used to be a medical student, very close to my graduation, and I was in Cuernavaca, that is very close to Mexico City. And being drunk, I decided to drive back to Mexico. Very bad decision. Then, in a certain moment, I sleep driving the car, and the car go directly to a wall, a concrete wall, and the car was total. But what is incredible is that I was out of my body. I see the whole experience, and I see my own body sleeping in the wheel. And what I did is just protect my physical body. Like I said before, the car was total. But at that moment, I knew without a doubt that I am not my physical body. Before I have the notion, I hear so many times, and even I understood that I'm not the physical body. But from that moment on, it was no longer a theory. For me, it was a fact. Of course, I don't expect that people believe or not believe that. But for me, it was a fact. I am not the physical body. And of course, that changed my life completely, because that pushed me to learn even more.
Yeah.
I keep going in my training with my mother, my father, my grandfather, because I want to repeat the same experience, but without the trauma of the accident.
Yeah.
And it took some time, but I did it again and again. With my mother, she created a group of what she called dreamers. And at first, I asked my grandfather, "How can I do that again?"
Mm-hmm.
And he told me, "You have to renounce to everything. You need to let go all the attachments, and for sure you will have the experience."
Ah.
And I tried to do that, and it really didn't work.
Okay.
Then my grandfather passed, and the next on the line was my mother.
Mm-hmm.
The explanation of my mother was much easier. And she told me, "Well, Miguel, it's like when you are so tired that you have to sleep. You really want to sleep. You don't care about anything any longer. You don't care where you're going to sleep. You don't care if you have family. You don't care if you have business. You just want to sleep.
Yeah.
And if you are able to do that, you will find out that you will be out of your body again." And that works.
That's a different approach, and I can see the difference between the two. Can we back up a little bit? So, at the time of your accident, if I understood it right, you were watching your body before the accident was even over. Is that correct?
Yes, before the car crash. And even I protect my body.
Yeah, and you protect your body. How do you? Well, first of all, whereabouts are you when you see? Is there a location, or do you just see your body? I'm not sure. I'm trying to get a vision of this.
Well, I was in the body.
Yeah.
I was inside the car.
Yeah. Okay. You were inside the car.
And I was outside my physical body.
Yep.
And time is so relative. Everything was so slow
Yes. Yes.
that give time to do whatever.
Right.
And I just surround my body, and the crash happened, but nothing happened to my body.
Now, so obviously, you believe, or that saved your body from harm by doing that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I have no doubt about it.
That's amazing. Was there more to it from that point on? Did you travel further? Did you go into a spiritual place at all after that, or did you go back into your body?
No, I just was unconscious until my body woke up.
Oh, okay. And I know from that place there's no sense of time, but from where you are now, do you know how much time might have gone by from when your body woke up?
Well, I guess it was several hours.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. Wow. Okay. Is anything happen with you as, forgive me, because I'm only going to use my own terminology here.
Sure, of course.
As a spiritual being, outside your body, anything else happen then after the initial accident, after the car has stopped, the body has stopped moving?
Well, my whole personality changed.
Wow.
The way I perceived life was completely different.
Yeah.
Because before that accident, everything was so important.
Yeah.
And after the accident, I see everything completely irrelevant. I continue to study. I graduate and I start working, but I have a lot of doubts.
Okay.
Now the knowledge in my mind want to understand why, because the first question it was, well, what am I?
Okay.
Because I'm not the physical body, that's obvious.
Yeah.
And it's obvious that I am not my identity.
Yeah.
I am not what I believe I am.
Right.
Then I don't know what I am, and that really scared my knowledge. I see that many other people to have the same kind of experience, they start denying what happened.
Yeah.
They just let go.
Right.
And they adapt to the life, and they kind of forget. Well, I go exactly in the opposite direction. I really wanted to know, and I want to have the same experience. And
Ah,
even that I was I graduate and I was part of the my brother's team as a surgeon.
yep.
I really was very interesting to see how the mind works, because for me it was obvious a separation between the body, the mind,
Hmm.
and what I really am.
Yeah,
Then I really want to understand the mind, because I thought that I understand the body completely, and
yeah.
the body is matter,
Yes, yes.
but the mind is not matter.
What would okay? The mind does not matter. What would you? How would you define the mind? What would you call the mind?
Okay, that's extremely interesting. You know, when I went back to the story of my legacy,
Yeah.
uh, when I have an encounter with what I call the truth,
Okay.
and that changed my life once again.
Okay.
We are searching for the truth from millenniums,
Yeah.
and it looks very complicated because I find out that everybody has his own truth,
You're right. Okay.
and it's not the truth.
All right.
It exists. The truth exists long before the creation of humanity and will exist long after the extinction of humanity. That the truth doesn't need that we believe or not in the truth.
All
And
right.
the truth is extremely simple. It's just common sense. And it's just two things.
Okay.
And we don't even need to prove that exist. The first is life. We don't need to prove that life exists because we all are alive. And of course,
Good.
our existence proves that life exists. And the other is death, because sooner or later we will die. And we see that all the time. We see people dying, animals dying, and it was so obvious.
Yeah.
The truth is life and death. It's a system with with it's a binomial, is or is not, is life and death. And of course that reminds me my classes of physics, when the teacher says that matter only can move if a force moves matter.
Right.
And if matter is in movement, only can be stopped if a force stops matter. But matter by itself cannot move.
Hmm.
So the force that moves matter is life,
Ah.
and matter itself is death.
That's
And,
beautiful.
and everything is just an interaction between life and death. Then, when I have that encounter with the truth and I see my hands is dead, is matter, but I move my hands.
I see.
I am the force that moves my hands,
Right. Right.
and it's life what is moving the hands. That life lives in matter, and matter is alive because life is living in matter, because life incarnate in matter.
Yeah.
Then I understood right away that since the moment of my conception, I incarnate in matter. And thanks to me, the very first cells start dividing, and dividing into millions of cells. It shift forms,
Mm-hmm.
take shape of all the organs, and after 9 months of life moving matter, finally a baby was born. It started growing up, growing old, and the moment will come when life leaves matter, because it's easy to understand that everything that is being created will have an end, but the force, which means life, is eternal. And we see that in science, of course. Energy cannot be destroyed, only can transform. It's so obvious the truth. Life and death and everything is moving. If you see an atom, you see all the electrons moving around the nucleus.
All right.
You see the action between life and death. And it's easy to understand that we live among death.
Right.
Nature is death, but is life who lives in every animal, every vegetable, etc. That is completely understandable that I live in my body and my body is my home. Same like my house is my home, my city is my home, and finally the entire planet is my home. And also it's easy to understand that the same force moves my body is the force that moves everybody else's body because it's exactly the same thing. It's just life. Life moves the entire manifestation, the entire creation. And this is the big binomial, something that I understood right away that there's only one being and is alive.
So when death comes to any one of us, what happens at that point? Do we join all of life again, like or do we? Is there still the singular part of us? Is there still Miguel? Is there still Bob? Or does Miguel and Bob leave this body and then just rejoin all of life again?
Okay, this is the most interesting part.
Okay.
Okay, we exist long before our conception
Right.
because we're life. Okay,
Yes.
we cannot be destroyed. Then we have to see which point of view we will see. Is the point of view of what we really are, that we call life, but it's just a name. Because the truth is that we don't know what we are.
Right.
That's true. We can use the point of view of the physical body, the one that when we go out will decay and be destroyed. Point of view of the mind. And the mind is the reflection of light. Because we don't see objects. We only see light that is being reflected to every single object that we perceive. If you see a mirror, it looks like everything that is inside the mirror is real and is full of objects. But it's not true. If you try to touch these objects, you will only touch the surface of the mirror. But everything that is outside the mirror is real. You can touch it, you can weight it, you can prove that it's real. But everything that is inside the mirror is a virtual reality, a copy of what is outside. When you watch a television and you see any sport that is happening right now in some other place, what you see in the television is a virtual reality. It's not real, but it's based in reality. Well, our mind is exactly the same thing. When you see a mirror, you see a copy of your own mind. The only difference between the mirror and your eyes is that behind your eyes there is a brain. And that brain has everything that you know. And with your reason, you will distort everything. Now, qualify everything that you see. Then, from that moment, this is not just a glass. cup. You can describe it and write a whole book about cup in the description. Mhm.
Right.
Whatever you write is not truth, but you grab the cup and this is true. Okay, the mind is just a reflection of light that the brain perceives, and that might create all the knowledge that you have, and knowledge create every single thing that you think. It creates your imagination, and with your imagination you go to the infinity because it's a copy of whatever is outside. You go to the infinite.
When you were in the car accident, was that, out of your body and looking at your body, was that part of the dream too? Or was that different?
Well, obviously it was part of the dream.
Yeah.
On the dream, it was the real me.
Yeah.
Then talk about that is by using what I know in order to make sense of whatever happened.
Yeah.
Right now, I know that it's not exactly true, but it's the only way that the mind can be feel safe.
Eh,
For me, what's real all that time. Or that changed already because even that I cannot explain my existence through knowledge. I know that I exist, I am alive. That is what is important, and life will be eternal.
and and that part of the story changed your life. It changed the way you thought. It changed your focus eventually you went from neurosurgery to psychology, and you've brought up physics many times. So, obviously that part of the story changed the rest of the story, didn't it?
Well, what we can see is that you have the experience, but the challenge is to put it in words,
Yeah.
and not just for yourself, but for everybody to understand. I hear so many times that nobody come from death. It's not true. Right?
It's beautiful. Have you ever thought about writing a book about death?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
It's in my schedule, and I'm working in that one. But I
Wonderful.
take a little more time because I'm very busy right now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So definitely.
Well, first of all, I appreciate this. One of the things that I've learned doing these interviews is that sometimes it's good to ask questions, and sometimes it's good just to step back and let the person talk, because it was just wisdom pouring out of you, and I didn't want to interrupt it. So thank you. Absolutely beautiful. I do want to mention, there you had even talked about a lot of these things in the Four Agreements, in the Voice of Knowledge, even in a couple of them in the Four Agreements, you talked about heaven on earth, and that we have the power to create hell and we have the power to create heaven. That was towards the end of the book. I think that you even talked about surrendering to the angel of death, which was
Which is
basically about detachment, was it not?
exactly because our body is already dead. It is always reminding us that sooner or later we will live and detach from that body. The master death is to accept it, to embrace it. And that angel of death is really teaching you to live, to be alive. Because from that point, we live our life like perhaps this is the last day of our life, but we can plan like we will live forever without expecting that whatever we plan will be real or not.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it exists is this moment.
Yeah. Well, that's true, and I think, I mean, you see that with a lot of people who have been diagnosed with a terminal illness or something. You see them make that change in their life, don't you?
Well, what they should do is just to enjoy their life the best they can, and not to be afraid to die, because they only will leave the body. And the rest of the people who live around them, they keep that image of them. Then while they still in as a secondary character in everybody else's story, they still alive in their mind.
Yeah. And I was going to ask you if you had a message for the grieving. We have a lot of people in our audience who are grieving. I think you just gave it, really, did you not?
Well, I think it's very interesting. When I have this heart attack, even that it was a very strong pain, I was so excited, so happy that that was happening. Because for me, it was the greatest opportunity to share with everyone how to let go the body, how to detach from the body, to teach them how to die. And first I called 911
That's right.
because I had to defend my life until the last moment. And then I called my manager that I have at that time, is Stephanie Bureau. And I asked her to call everybody because they can have the experience to see me how I die. But they can understand and stop being afraid to die.
Yeah.
Well, what I didn't thought at that moment is that in intensive care, they will not allow anybody to go to see me.
Oh.
Then it was futile to ask everybody. But my middle son, Jose, he came on time, and I had the opportunity to share with him. When he came to see me, because he's been my apprentice from a long time, he learned a lot already. He was like a 21 years old at that time, something like that.
Wow.
And when he came to see me, he was full of tears. He was crying. They say, "Father, don't die. You don't with me. Please don't die." And it was not the Jose that I know.
Yeah.
Then I just stand up and say, "Jose, if this is the way that you will celebrate the death of your father, get out of the room, fix yourself, and when you're ready, come back because I need to talk to you before I go." Of course, she was shocked. He never expects something like that.
No.
And he went out of the room, and a few minutes later, he came back, and now he was the Jose that I know. Then he come to me and say, "Father, thank you very much, and I apologize to you. I see all my selfishness. I see that I will spend your last moments of your life by feeling sorry for myself, to be so sad because you will die and you are not even dead yet. And what I did is just I shift places."
Yeah.
And I imagined that I was the one who was in the bed dying. And even I went further than that. I really was in the coffin. And I see you crying for me. And I see you to letting go everything that you was doing all those years, that you don't want to see anyone, and you just want to be alone, feeling sorry for yourself, and decided not to do your work any longer. See how you was so devastated for my death. And then I have just 1 minute to talk to you. And then I came back and tell you, "Father, I am fine. I have no pain. I am very happy, and I don't want to go back. Then please let me go. you are alive. Then just in the memory for me, enjoy your life. Enjoy every moment of your life. I have my time. I enjoy it. Now you do the same with yourself. I say, wow, that is exactly what I wanted to tell you.
That's beautiful. Wow. I'm sure that changed his life to have that experience, and it changed the way he deals with people who are ready to pass. I'm sure.
Well, years later, he wrote the Fifth Agreement.
Yeah. Yep. Do I have that one here? I have it. Oh, I gave it away. I gave it away. It didn't come back to me. The other books, so I showed the Four Agreements, and then there's the Four Agreements companion book. I have the Voice of Knowledge. I did show. Let's just talk a little bit about this, the 5 levels of attachment. This is your son, the one who shares your name with Junior at the end, and this is a new book, the 5 levels of attachment. Tell us a little bit about that. You wrote the foreword to that.
Well, after the Fifth Agreement, in the Fifth Agreement, you finally win over knowledge. With the Fifth Agreement, you recover that respect for yourself, your own story, and you recover the respect for everyone around you.
Yeah.
Well, the next step is these 5 levels of attachment. Because when you become a real master, you have the awareness that you are living in the present moment. And in that present moment, the only way that you deal with everybody else is through attachment and detachment. Then he described 5 levels of attachment. And, what he say is that the majority of us, we are between the 3rd and the 4th level of attachment. And he described it like a flower that when it's completely open is the 1st level. You know that you're alive. Then in the 2nd level, it closes a little because you have preference. Because with preference, you enjoy more whatever is around you. When you're in the 1st level, everything is the same. You know you're God. You know you're everything. You know you're life. You know that everybody is God, everybody is life, and there's no difference. When you have preference, then you engage with whatever is happening around you. Okay. In the 3rd level, now you attach even more, but you're aware that you can let go or you can attach. Is attach and detach. And you start attaching to what is happening right now. It's over, you just detach. Is the flower start up, closed and open. But then in the 4th level, it closes even more. And now you identify yourself with whatever is your environment. Now you say, well, I am a medical doctor and everybody should be that way. I'm a vegetarian and this is the way it should be. I'm a Protestant, and that's the way it should be. And just start trying to convince everybody to be like you, to enroll anybody around you. And the 5th level, the flower closed completely, and is fanaticism. You become so fanatic in your fanaticism, you lose humanity. You don't care to die for what you believe or to kill for what you believe. Then it's like you just have one point and you don't want to see anything else. Then when you're really a master, you play with that, but with awareness. Yeah. Then it's like a flower that is open and closed, and it's open in so many different directions. Like in some direction is completely open, another direction is completely closed. And it's so beautiful how he explained. Yeah. He uses sports in order to explain those levels of attachment, because by using sports, everything is so easy to understand and is so irrelevant. But you can see that when we become fanatic in some sport, we even kill or die because of sport. But when we instead of a sport, we go into religion, into politics, into so many other things. Now we see all the tragedy that happened in humanity.
Yeah.
And I think it's a great book that really will help so many people.
I think so too. Here it is again. Everybody can pick that up. There'll be a link to it underneath this video. 5 Levels of Attachment, Don Miguel Ruiz Jr. The website for you is miguelruiz.com, correct?
Correct.
So anybody, and those links will be below as well. Links to people can find out things about you, and they can learn more about you. I can't imagine that too many people in our audience don't already have most of your books. I'm glad we could let them know about that. You must be so proud of your sons. You must get to work with them a lot. How wonderful is that, huh?
Oh, it's great. We are so close and we love each other so much, and it's just great.
Sounds wonderful to me. I mean, that would. It just seems like the perfect setup, the perfect system, and it's a great compliment to you that they want to go and do that, isn't it? What a wonderful compliment to you.
And is that they really do it in their own way. They really don't need me at all.
That's right.
It's cool just to see them in action. I love it.
Yeah, that is. That is. Well, anyway, so thank you very much, Dr. Ruiz. I really appreciate it. It was such an honor listening to you, and I think people are going to want to watch this several times over just to sort of take it all in. But I appreciate it. I hope we get to talk again.
Please, let's do it again.
All right. Thank you very much.
Very welcome. You have all my love.
Yeah, you too. Bye-bye.
That's all for another fantastic Afterlife TV episode. Bob couldn't be happier. If you enjoyed this episode as much as Bob, please leave a comment on AfterlifeTV.com, Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. And don't forget to check out Bob's book, Answers About the Afterlife. Thanks for watching Afterlife TV.